Good morning. I have a busy day today. I'm going to be out. And do I have an Instapot? I've been asked that question. Yes, I have an Instapot, but I like my little crock pot. So there. There's 3 pieces of this. You might recognize what it is. It's not the best cut of meat. It's called eye of round. Whoops. There we go. Can you see that? Yeah, eye of round, and Aldi sells these. And there were 3 pieces in there. And look at the price. It was $5.33. And believe me, this is going to make a nice, ready, drum roll, beef stroganoff. And there will be plenty. Now, some of you have, of course, seen the good old onion soup mix. I like it. Do I love it? Maybe not. It's a little salty. So I want to just use a little bit of this. I have this because in a pinch I do use it, but mostly I just use onions and whatnot. And when I was in Amish country, I actually bought their version of it, and I kind of like it better. It's not as salty. So really, you know what this is pretty much? You can make your own. Dried onion flakes, you know, from the dollar store or Aldi or whatever, and some bouillon crunched up. And I don't know that there's anything too much else in here. You want to put some garlic in or something? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of this stuff. So you can see down in there, right? And water. You could use beef bouillon if you want. I like to cover this generously because this is as much water or broth or whatever that you put in, that's how much gravy you're going to have. So we like a lot of gravy, and especially if I'm making stroganoff. I might put a teeny bit more of that in. Let's see. No, not really. And I always have like a piece of onion floating in my leftover in my refrigerator. So skin and all, it's going in. There's flavor in that. And not necessary, but one little stalk of celery. I'm going to put that in, leaves and all, for flavor. There we go. And that's it. Unashamed of using packages stuff here and there. But if you mix packages with fresh things, somehow it's just lends for a more healthful tasting meal. And for $5.33 in this era, 2023 it is right now, that's a good price for a meal for 2 people. And then I'm sure we're going to have some left over. I will chunk up the meat at the end. And then I did make a video on beef stroganoff before. Get your little sour cream ready and you'll be golden. Hope you'll look that one up. And if not, ask me questions and I'll go from there. I don't want to do a whole long video on this. I just want to show you a quick dinner while I'm away. Get to cooking you. Okay, so now I'm back at it. This is later in the day. Taking some butter. I'm going to saute the onions. Now, I would have done this step first, but I didn't want to do this until all the meat had cooked and was nice and sauteed. I didn't want to do it early. The meat is finished. It looks a little light in color, but trust me, it's been in the crock pot for several hours, in fact. It's very tender that way. And I'll cut it in cubes in just a little bit. Not going to use that celery and onion I plopped in there for back flavor. But let's get these onions going. I like them sauteed, but not mush. So I'm going to get a little brown color on them. And the butter in the pan is, I always say butter brown's better, you know, instead of just using a little olive oil of some sort. One of the things that really gives it a great back flavor that I haven't used a lot in my life is this Worcestershire sauce. Now, you're just going to give it a couple good shakes, but vive la difference on that. But let's get our onions going, and we'll thicken it up in a little bit. I got to wait until they're at least a little bit brown. And like I said, I could have done this if I was going to be home. I would do it like this the whole way. Now, see how it still looks pink, but trust me, it's cooked all the way through. That just indicates it's tender, and it didn't get seared. That's why there's no brown color on it. But the flavor's still going to be there, and like I said, it's super tender. Okay, be right back. Okay, I'm back, and this is how I kind of like the onions. They still have some toothiness to them, some texture, if you will, because this is a soft dish all the way around, and you need a little contrast. But yet they brought out their sweetness. Now let's make it into like a little thicker sauce using some AP flour, just all-purpose flour. You can do this right in the same skillet to make gravy. Like even if you had hamburgers that yielded some grease or something, you can just put a couple tablespoons of flour in there and stir, 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 get that flour taste out, and yet it'll do its thing just in a minute or so and thicken this up so that our sauce for the stroganoff will be nice and thick. So I'll come back to that. In fact, I better maybe turn this off, but I am going to put this in first and show you how much. So just like I said, 1 or 2 good dollops. And trust me, this is enough. Don't overdo it. You can always add more in. Look, it's getting thick already. See? Look at that. Love it. I want every little onion to get some Worcestershire sauce on there. And, okay. So thick, thick, thick. And now what's next? What's next is the broth itself. I could have let this cook one more minute, but again, I'm trying to do a video here, and it'll be fine. Everything that was in the crock pot, I took out the meat, of course, but I'm going to strain it. I think this is important. I want a nice smooth gravy. I don't want all those little giblets that were in the packet of French onion soup, or any onion skin or residual like celery leaves or whatever that fell off. So just shake, 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 and then see, that's all the stuff. I'm just gonna throw this away. I'm not gonna use it. You might like a few in there, but we have onions in there. This is a no mushroom recipe. Now, mushrooms could be sauteed right along with those onions. Keep that in mind. It's classic to have mushrooms in your stroganoff after all. Back in the pot goes the meat, very tender. Now I'm gonna turn things down at this point and just get it to thicken more. And I'll get some egg noodles on. You could serve this, I guess, over rice, but I believe the classic way to serve this is with some sort of wide noodle. I'm gonna put some pepper in now, but I am gonna resist using the salt until we're at the table because I did use the pack of dry onion mix. Okay, this is just a few minutes later, and look, it's getting thicker. So now at this point, what really makes a classic stroganoff is the sour cream. I use light sour cream. You can use the full fat, but I find, especially in recipes or in a salsa dish or whatever, the light is okay. I usually don't always like the light version of dairy products, for instance, but in this case, trust me, it works just fine. But like I said, now you want to keep things low. You don't want them to really boil too much, but it's just stir, stir, stir till that's all incorporated. Onions, lack of mushrooms. I can live without them in this. Believe me, it's just very tasty. And how fast was this dish? Yeah, I did it in 2 parts, but I wanted the meat and everything to cook ahead of time. At the table, I think it's prettier with the parsley to give it a little color right on the dish. But of course, I forgot to do that. When Thane was walking by, I said, oh, let me take a picture of your dish really quick. But of course, I forgot that part. But I hope you'll try it. It's very aromatic and delicious. And there you go. Enjoy.